Lepsis. Okay, Lapsus $. If you have missed this in the news, it's quite interesting. It makes me chuckle. It's not funny, but it is rather interesting. So basically, Oxford teen accused of being multi-millionaire cyber criminal. 16-year-old from Oxford has been accused of being one of the leaders of the cybercrime gang Lepsis. So one of the leaders means there's more. They've arrested 7 teenagers in relation to this, and they've had successful breaches of major firms like Microsoft, and they bragged about it on their Telegram channel, which I think says they have like 47,000 subscribers or something crazy like that. And 7 people they arrested are between the ages of 16 and 21. Oh my gosh, they're kids. This is unbelievable. And it's funny here. It's not funny, but it is funny. The boy's father, we just thought he was playing video games. We didn't know what he was doing. So, nope, he was playing video games, all right. And so let's see, they've targeted several enterprise technology companies, breaching significant amounts of data, and then posting on their dedicated Telegram data leak channel. And Microsoft and then Okta admitted they had been hacked as well. And in a different article, it talked a little bit about how they've been accomplishing this. And so it's interesting. They went right after social engineering. It's not even terribly technical savvy. It's pretty crazy. So they went after people. People are the weakest link, right? So they went after people who were willing to share their credentials. And then when the little multi-factor authentication box popped up, they were willing to hit the button, yes, that's me. And so that's how a lot of this, of what they did, which was just old-fashioned social engineering tactic. They would post for people who are disgruntled or just needing to make a few bucks. And okay, all I got to do is give you my username and password. Like, okay, here you go. I got to push the MFA button. I can handle that. I read one article that said some of these people are getting paid as much as $20,000 a week, which is not enough for this, but it's crazy. Like that was their approach. Kids, teenagers. So that's the world we're in. Here's the point of this. Everything you think you know about cybersecurity and everything you think you've done, it changes because you get a 16-year-old kid in the UK or wherever he is, and he's cybercrime ring making, I think I've read like $13 million is what they thought he had a few years ago or something. So, I mean, like crazy. Like, and he's not the only one. Oh, and I guarantee you this will inspire new ones, right? And so that's where this will go. And so it's coming, I promise. And so we have to stay on top of this. These are kids. Oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And so it's just constantly changing. The landscape is constantly changing. And if in your organization you think, oh, I'm good, I've got everything secure, you're not. That's a wrong approach. The approach is, yeah, it could happen to me. Am I? What do I need to do? And constantly maturing and iterating. Not flipping out or being crazy, but just constantly maturing, iterating, constantly surveying your risk and what do we need to do, and then just picking them off over the course of time. And so that's really what we do here. And this is what's funny. This is what this shows me. If kids can pull this off, then we are sucking as a group of companies, right? Like we're doing something seriously wrong if kids can pull this off. Like we should be better than this, right? And so that just is like a huge kind of humbling moment to go, okay, I don't think we're doing cybersecurity well if this can be pulled off so easily. Like we need to think about this. We need to amp up our game. We need to get serious about this thing, and this is across the board. And so and you can look at this and go, well, that was Microsoft and Okta. I'm not them, so they're not worried about me. Oh, bad assumption, wrong assumption. They will go after whatever and whoever they can. It's a very wrong assumption. If you have something of value, expect to be a target. That will help you to position yourself well. And so it's just at this point, all of this is kind of a social thing, right? And I say that repeatedly. Cybersecurity is now a social responsibility. It's a social ill. It is a responsibility of every organization out there because it is becoming a societal problem. and this highlights that. And so I talk to businesses who sometimes, they want to do the right thing, but they don't have budget, and so then you have to be creative, but at least they're wanting to do the right thing. Sadly, I talk to companies, a lot of startups who have regulated data, people's identities, and they just are like, it's fine. They just flick it off. Well, that's terrible. That's a horrible way to run a business, and that's very irresponsible in our society, because these things are just going to keep happening, and we should plan for it and be ready for it. Because I read this, and they've been doing this for a while now. Well, he's 16, so I don't know how long he could have been doing it. But anyway, they've been doing it for a while now, and so I wonder, what else do they already have their tentacles in? What else are they already in? Not just Lapsus, but just in general. And they're just waiting to pull the trigger when they want to, and we don't even know they're there, because we're not building our protections right. We're not mitigating our risk. We're not monitoring our environments. We're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so I can't help but wonder, like, they just got their hooks in different places, and they're just waiting. And when they need it, they'll pull it. And we didn't even know, and they were there. And it's just like, oh, and so that's the mindset you want to be thinking about. This is what this type of article helps us to see. And we want to close the doors. We want to plan for it. We want to assume it's going to happen to us, because that will help us to position ourselves well. We want to close all of our doors and windows. So we want to do all our vulnerability management well. We want to do penetration tests. We want to look for those risks in the environment. We want to document, catalog those, prioritize those, remediate those, handle all of that, because that's what we're doing. We're positioning ourselves to plan for it, but we're closing as much as we can. And this all depends on resources and budget, how you do this. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You can do it from the most economical. You can do it to the most whiz bang. Depends what you can afford. But when you're down here, you can't ignore it. It's bad stewardship of your organization, and even bigger than that, it's bad for society. So you can't just ignore it. There are ways to even amp up your security posture when you're way down here and you don't think you have the money for it. And by the time you get up here, you got the money for it. But you know what I see at this end of the spectrum with all the enterprise organizations? They have more money than they have sense. So they'll go buy things. They don't configure them, they don't use them, they don't configure them well, they don't monitor them. They're so big that everything then becomes fragmented and siloed. And then they have the money to buy tools, and they're not even leveraging tools the way they should be doing it. And they don't understand their risk posture, and they don't understand where their gaps are, and they just don't know. And they've gotten so big that they've kind of lost sight of that. So it's interesting how it happened. There's negative on both sides of the spectrum, right? And then monitor. You just constantly surveying your landscape. You're constantly surveying what's going on in your environment. And what am I seeing there? What is in the logging that I need to flag? And obviously there's a lot of tools out there, and there's some that are using AI, and they're getting very intelligent for how they monitor. But then I did another video where one of the suggestions was, if I have logs all over the place because I'm using all these different SaaS platforms and mobile and blah, 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 and all these other things, and I don't somehow pull my logs together where I can monitor them, I'm not monitoring my environment, because my environment is not in four walls anymore. And so that's part of this, is what are all your pieces parts? You got to know those things. And then how do I pull those back, and how do I monitor those? And what are the ones I care about, and what are the ones I don't care about? And why do I care about these and not these? It all comes back to your risk. And so it's really kind of putting together that landscape, and then monitoring, because monitoring at least will catch it. Something doesn't look right there, and it will help to catch it before it becomes too big an issue. And then I can't help but say, keep your people happy. Very important, because this was social engineering, right? This was going after people's passwords that they, I was going to say freely give. They didn't freely give them. They gave them for a price, but they gave them up. And they're not supposed to do that. You have policy, these companies have policies in place. I mean, that's not worth it for anybody's career, because, you can be prosecuted for that. But keep your people happy. Do background checks on people. Even in the cybersecurity space, there's this notion that if you have huge debt or you've defaulted on debt, that you're compromised, because then Lepsis comes along and wants to pay you for your password, and I got this big debt. Okay, I'll just do it this one time, and then my debt's paid off. And so background checks is a very standard control within company. Read the background checks. Understand what are the different background requirements for different jobs within your company. Some jobs, I can be a little looser on the background. It's okay. It's no big deal. You're going to be answering the phone. You're great. You had a few little blips. It's fine. Other jobs like cybersecurity, you better be crystal clear. You better be clean as a whistle, because you're already a compromise just because of what you have access to and what you do. And then if your background's not clean, now you're a bigger risk, a bigger compromise. And so that's, hiring well and understanding risk, and hiring even according to risk. But then keep people happy. I don't know who these people were. Were they disgruntled? Were they pissed off? Like, who knows, right? But keep your people happy. Work to do that. And I think a lot of the remote work has helped with, kind of helping to keep people happy, and companies approach that in different ways. But recognize that people are your biggest risk. And if they decide to be nefarious, or let somebody, kind of help somebody along with being nefarious for your business, that's not good. And if you have employees, that is a risk that every company shares. And so don't miss that. Just work to keep your, hire well, and then keep them happy. Not crazily, but just so they, hopefully if Lapsus comes knocking on their door, they'll be like, it's not worth the risk. So that's pretty much it. If a 16-year-old kid can be a multimillionaire cyber criminal, I think we need to amp up our cybersecurity game as companies in general. And really, there needs to be this notion that no company can ignore cybersecurity, because it is an issue across the landscape of all companies. And we need to handle our vulnerabilities well. We need to make sure that we're monitoring our environments. We're closing doors that could potentially be exploited and used against us. But most importantly, that we're just upping our game, and how we're building out our cybersecurity program, how we're managing that, how we're monitoring that, how we're remediating that, so that we get that security posture up, and we keep it up, and we just keep maturing and keep iterating it. I'd appreciate it if you would share this video with someone who you think it might help, and hit the like button.